I'm so pro her career, like, and her being the queen Shireen, boss Shireen that she is. It's like, that's silly for me to want to hold my wife back or my partner back or my person back because I want to be the head of household decision maker. Like, no, 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 no. That's also just a very old way of thinking. I'm here. I'm here. I'm in the flesh, baby.
What's up, brother?
How's everything going?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a great day. Happy Monday. Been
Happy
getting
Monday.
to it.
Happy Monday. Yeah, yeah. Love the energy to get started. So before we get into it, let me just give a little background for those who may not know. Charles Kuykendoll, father, husband of Queen Shireen. I found out
Wow.
this past weekend.
I told her she needed to change her Instagram handle to Queen Shireen. That's a good one.
Well, after this one, she got to change it. That's what I've been hearing around the internet and social. It's Queen Shireen all day. Also, host of Shade Rooms, the Shady Brunch, founder of the R&B House Party.
Wow.
Just got promoted to a big dog position with Stripe.
Wow. Life is good, huh? No.
Life is pretty good. Life is pretty good. And now you're on the latest season of Black Love, officially part of the Black Love family, also part of After Love, talking about Spark or No Spark Gate. So we'll
this is going to be good. This will be good. This will be good.
So it's a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Yeah, so I guess let's start there. We'll start into the fun. We'll dig into the depth a little bit. But yeah, Queen Shireen. So the spark or no spark of it all. And I appreciate that conversation because of I know my worth of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's something big to that. I think there's something big to that in terms of mental health. So since this is a wellness show, I think there's definitely something to it. Although it did hit you with some feelings and making you feel some type of way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in the production of that though, I didn't see her reaction. So I was just staring at the camera. When she said no spark, I was just so taken aback. But then to see it like from production standpoint with her just cackling.
Yeah.
I said, okay, this is a moment where we have to rethink and recensor our relationship because that one hurt a little bit, but it's good. We made it through.
Good. Yeah, and there was one other thing you brought up. So just within the relationship of it all, look, there's a lot of gems. There's a lot of conversation that happens this season. Yeah. As well as this After Love episode, where you spoke to couples therapy.
Yeah.
So when was that realization where you said, okay, we're at that point? Because there were some other things I don't want to speak for you, so I want you to speak to it. So yeah, where did this start?
It started last year, midst of the pandemic. Like, I love my wife. Life is, seemingly good. I would say last year was just tough all around. Like, the seriousness of where the world was, work, the pressures, the stress. And for us, like us both being very career motivated people, being in a house all day, not being able to have that proverbial spark anymore. We're just like literally I'm in this room, which is the little office room. She's in our master. We go in, we intersect, and we go back to our spaces. We don't ever put on clothes. We don't ever get excited. We don't miss each other. We're like literally like next to each other all day, every day for months. And it was just like, okay, she's getting annoyed with things that, maybe we shouldn't be so annoyed about. I'm getting annoyed by things for sure. I'll take the ownership of things that I should not be annoyed about. And it was just like, okay, like this is just not conducive to the love and the enjoyment that we had once shared, and for primarily like 7-8 years that we like dated and been in that type of a situation. 4 years of marriage. And so, we were open to bringing in outside help. And I think that that's important to share, that I am still a faith-based individual. I still pray. I still something, I bring my problems to God too. But it was like, hey, Shireen said it specifically, like the most important relationship, we don't want to seek help on. But for my career, I have career coaches, I have mentors. I'm always asking when it comes to all of our other relationships or things that we want to be successful at. We want the help. We want insight from people who have done it. We want insight from industry experts. But when it comes to our relationship, don't ask me anything about my relationship. And that was just
Yeah.
something that I had to personally overcome, because I was like, I ain't going on couples therapy. Like, we good. Like, we can work
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
I'm a very
Yep.
communicative person.
Yeah.
And so the introduction of outside help and support, just to kind of recenter and get to the crux of the issue, was super duper important, because we realized we were arguing over nothing. We were disappointed in each other over very small things that could be fixed. And it was through those conversations that got us to, in my opinion, the best place that we've ever been in. So.
I love that. Yeah, I think, I'm glad this myth, through this series and Black men like yourselves, especially so, because I feel like that's something just in Black community. It's like
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
Next, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
not even a
Absolutely.
conversation, but I love almost, I'd say 90% of the men that have been on here either have gone through some level of therapy,
Hmm.
interested in it, open
Yeah.
to it,
Yeah.
and also most of them are faith-based. So it's
Yeah.
like you can
Yeah.
pray to God and still
Hmm.
have some level of therapy. They were
Yeah.
put there for you, so somebody was given that foresight to be able to help you.
Right,
you
right,
know?
right, right. And me, again, I'll be the person that was the anti-therapist. I want to make sure that I'm sharing with the public. Like, I
Yeah,
wasn't the
yeah,
guy that's just, I've never seen a therapist in my life for any circumstance that I've ever gone to up until last year. So I'm just like, the, now having gone through it, and we're still, even though we're in a good space, we're still doing it. But I
yeah.
think that the most important piece from a therapeutic standpoint was not to wait till we're at our wits' end, to the point that we are thinking divorce, the point that we are like
Yes.
separated, to then engage in therapy. It was like, listen, we want to be here. We're like here, but we're not here. Like, that was a good turning point to really get things back on track. So I'm just saying, like, just do it, even if things are great. Now we're in therapy to maintain where we're at, which is in a really good space. It wasn't like, okay, they got us through this tough moment, now let's like
Now
revert
we're out.
back.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine. My guy Della says that. No. Let's maintain that. Let's keep these conversations going. Now our conversations are much more broader in topics and things we have going on, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I'm a proponent of it. I love it.
No, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. And especially what on your end. So, I like getting into the relationship dynamic, but I also want to hone in on you specifically,
Yeah.
because I feel like with men, it's even a harder shell to crack. It's even more difficult for us to express emotions. And somebody like yourself, where, look, from the time I've known you virtually on screen and,
Yeah.
and researching you and seeing you, shade room and all of that, and seeing you're at, look, very happy,
Yeah.
very
Absolutely.
outgoing, very
Absolutely.
talkative. It's just like,
Yeah.
how can this guy go from 100 to not? Like, when does that to not happen? But it happens. And
Yeah.
you just spoke to it from a couple standpoint. I'd like to
Yeah.
know, was there anything, and I'm not fishing for anything. If it's
No,
clean,
no,
it's clean.
yeah, we could talk.
But was there anything for you specifically that you were challenged with outside of the couple dynamic? Like, what for you has either helped, or what for you specifically as a man was brought to light in all of this?
Yeah. So for me, like, when I think about last year, like, I'm just such a go-getter, and that can be tiresome to your partner. But
Yeah.
it honestly, for the first time, became tiresome to me. Like, just the weight of work, the weight of trying to be a good partner, the weight of trying to effectively maintain the positivity that I bring externally. Queen Shireen speaks of it all the time. She's like, the Charles that the world gets is
Yeah.
not the Charles that I get. And I know it's probably hard. I know I got some friends on here. I mean, my friends know, but
Yeah.
like, from the auxiliary people, it's just like, oh no, Charles is the greatest. He's just the happiest. He's always positive. But no, that's tiresome. And then Queen
Yeah.
Shireen's getting the tired, not want to do nothing, the not
Mm.
engaged dad, the person who wants to just lay up, the person who's not as proactive about wanting to go out and you know, have fun with my family as I am with like
Yeah.
my friends, for example. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna shoot straight. And so that was some things like last year that it was just very, very, very difficult. And then like, you know, the pressures of work, the societal pressures, like it was becoming so much for me that I was just like not even, I wasn't even a happy person. I was able to put on a really, really good front, but like I would come home and just, most days I spent very, very, very like angry
Wow.
and just like down. I was very, very, very down. And that was like impacting my relationship in ways that I didn't foresee, because normally she gets that from me anyway. She's getting the tired Charles, the
Yeah.
lethargic Charles, the
Yeah.
unmotivated Charles, but it was like exasperated to like no end last year. And so, you know, I wanted to
Wow.
work on myself. I wanted to get myself in a situation that was going to reestablish like my happiness, the excitability, and whether or not I am doing an event, allowing for us to miss each other, because, you know, 2019 in this example, I spent 30 weekends on the road throwing events. So we
Wow.
had opportunity to miss each other. We had opportunity to have lives outside of each other, but I had to like refocus, recenter, even with us still being like in the shared space, to a point where I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
I'm just happy being at home. If I never do another party or never have an opportunity to like be away from my wife, I'm happy with my son. I'm happy with my wife. And that's literally all that matters to me. And it's actually aided and guided the number of decisions that I've made since then. Like
Hmm.
we're building a house in the suburbs away from, you know, where the fun or where the mix is.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I just want to be comfortable with my family. So, you know, it was super helpful, but you know, the outside pressures of the world, work, the motivation that I have intrinsically was
Yeah.
definitely causing a lot more detriment than I ever anticipated last year. So I had to chill. I had to take a chill pill, for lack of
I
a
hear
better
you.
word.
I hear you. One other part to it, last piece of the family dynamic, you have a beautiful young boy.
CJ,
Um,
that's my boy.
CJ, shout out. How old is he now?
He's 3 turning 4 June 25th.
Hmm. Turning 4, probably going on 14 real
Oh
quick.
man. Oh yeah, he's a grown up. He's a grown up.
So what was that like as well? So, you know, how was that dynamic last year? And you know, was there anything in the therapy realm that helped,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
consciously or as a side effect?
it was uncovered. And I'll just give like the CJ tailwind story real quick, and then how
Please.
therapy was really helpful. So initially, CJ was born, and even before, when my wife was expecting, like I was like, oh my God, my life's about to change forever. I'm literally gonna have to, you know, be accountable for another individual for the rest of my life. So I'm like in party mode. I'm like, listen,
Yeah,
you
let's.
you you you're expecting, but I'm like good. So I'm just gonna hit the streets, go to Vegas every week. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna
Just
get
get
this
it all
out.
out my system, right? So then when
Yeah.
the baby was born, the baby is not dependent on the father as much as the mother. So I kind of was able to get a little bit late. So I'm like, I can't help him. Like he wants to, you know, be fed and all of this. And then it started to be a trickle down effect, at least for her,
Mm.
where she was like, you putting a lot of this on me, and I don't see the motivation and the excitement that you have to do events, or your commitment to work. Even you don't have that same commitment to fatherhood from my
Yeah.
perspective. But I was like, nah, that's not it. Like I'm helping out when I can, but I put the onus on her to like be a mom, and then I'm like a babysitter, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when she was able to express that way and express that to me in what I didn't feel like was an attacking way, she expressed it probably very unhealthy ways. Prior to like, could you just change it? Can you give him a bath? But when through therapy, she was able to express that and articulate that, like, I'm not coming at you, but I want to feel like in the way that you are approaching fatherhood, you know what I mean? I want to be able to feel like you care. And I said, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like I spend months planning. I'm a perfectionist in so many aspects of my life. The two places that I still needed to have more of a perfection mindset is probably my health. And I've been on the Peloton. I don't know if you can tell. I've
Oh,
been on
okay.
Peloton
Okay.
because
There it is.
between that still shot, I was like, listen, I lost about 25 pounds. Y'all got me on the
Oh,
internet looking
that's what's
crazy.
up. Hey,
But
well, let
it's
me.
in that, and then also like the way that I approach like fatherhood. And I was like,
Yeah.
listen. I'm a perfectionist. I'm so diligent. Like, why am I not planning that type of things for me and my son to do, or just his scholastic plan, what type of school we put him into. Like that's the type of thing that where I'm just like becoming obsessive over, right? Like we want to
Yeah.
be in Port Ranch, the #1 school district, but that's the same way I approach work. That's what makes me so successful. That's the same way I approach my events, my partnerships. And I said I need to index more on that for her, because she knows what Charles locked in looks like, because she sees it in every other aspect of my life, and it was
Yeah.
lacking there. So through therapy, therapy, I was like, oh, that's all you want? You want to see business, Charles, with the family, us planning vacations, us going to San Diego. I said, I got that. I could do that in
Yeah.
my sleep. And now
Yeah.
I have that, and I have literally the best relationship with my son, but more importantly with my wife, because of how she feels like I'm viewing my relationship with my son. So that's the
That's
real.
amazing.
I'm getting deep, y'all. Listen.
No,
I know what y'all expected. I'm gonna just be a straight shooter.
no, I love it. Listen, we appreciate the honesty and openness. That's what this is all about. That's what Black Love's all about. So I respect it. Now you mentioned a lot about perfectionism, and you mentioned a lot about being the best in your work and your hustle. Do you feel like that comes from or came from, because you're changing for the better? Do you feel like that has come from this idea of what masculinity is supposed to be? Do you feel like it just comes from that's how you've been as a person and are as a person? Where do you think all of that has come from?
It comes honestly not masculinity. Like I do think that as a man, I did want to be a provider. So that was like very much like, listen, I know as a man, as somebody whose number one goal is to be a father, to be a husband. But that was like the goal growing up. It wasn't to be, president of the United States. It was like, that's what I want. So I knew in order to do that, like I needed to be able to provide. But it
Sure.
honestly comes from like trauma that I never dealt with. Like it
Mm.
comes from growing up poor. and whatever that meant. And having to go without and having, to choose. And then in my later stages, realizing all of the sacrifice that my mom had to go through to even give us the life that we did have. And my dad, I was like, listen, if I have the ability to kind of control, our finances and my career trajectory, like I don't ever want to experience or have my son experience what I had to go through. So that's where the motivation comes from, and the lack of being content. And I'm like, now I'm realizing it's a problem. Like this is the first time, I would say 2020 was the first time where I was like, money isn't everything to me. But that's dating back, I'm 32 years old, from 1988. Money has been like my driving factor in most
Yeah.
decisions. Let's move
Yeah.
across country, let's take this job, let's do that. But last year I was like, okay, I'm comfortable now. Like, Charles, how important is just the financial security and the trauma that you're dealing with of not, knowing mom's paycheck to paycheck, or not knowing what generational wealth looks like and having
Yeah.
assets in different ways. I was like, Charles, you and Serena, okay, bro. Like, let's not focus solely on that. We're going to be good. Be in a situation where you can make sure you're comfortable, but also that you're fulfilling the other things that really matter. What's up, Mama Beloved? Mama Beloved Internet is it? That's my mommy. Hey, mommy, what's going on? I know. She got me the Jordans. That's my girl. But just seriously, like I want to make sure that I was able to provide. And that's a lot of pressure to make sure that you are holding down your family the way that you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I look, I respect that. I can relate to a lot of that, especially, my upbringing. This segment's not about me, but but I will say I can relate to this motivational factor of money,
Yeah.
where you come from nothing, you're trying to make something, you don't want to make the same mistakes that, your family tried
Yeah.
and may have made, but you don't want to make those same mistakes. And yeah, in society, money becomes that thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then as a man, you having to provide becomes that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, here comes those pressures, here comes those
Yeah.
things you got to hit. And I
Yeah.
think out of that, to your point, comes this, there's a certain level of this perfectionism that comes into your head, which we know is not real, but we can strive for it because the pursuit is the thing, not the thing itself. So, we'll get there. But yeah. It's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, and you brought it up in a way of trauma and past experiences, because I don't think a lot of us in particular, man or woman, or whatever your background is, whatever your story is, that a lot of this can come from that. It's from
not even knowing. Yeah.
Not even knowing. It's from
a blind
lack
spot.
Of. Yeah.
It's a blind spot.
Yeah. And you don't know, and you don't know better until somebody puts a spotlight on it, until you have the conversation, until you go to therapy and somebody allows you to have the space to bring it up. Or even not in therapy, it's probably something that even came up in your relationship with Shireen, where you're talking, or after having CJ, where it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want CJ to have that same idea and that
Yeah.
same way of
Yeah.
thinking and going through it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then, you know,
Yeah.
these things pop up, and I think there is also something beautiful, whether it's therapy in the formal sense, whether
Yeah.
it's family, or in, like I've seen this in being a dad. So for you and being a dad also, when you start looking at your children, you start trying to figure out, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do
Right.
the same thing my mom did, my dad did. So that's where these things just start,
Absolutely.
you know, you could be
Absolutely.
playing ball one day and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah. No,
mean?
absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
thing, you know, from back in the day when I was playing
Mm-hmm.
ball at the court and I didn't have the ball, maybe that's where this trauma came
Yeah.
from. So
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting where these dynamics come from. And again, for you to, you know, be open to share that, I appreciate that, because we have to figure out these ways of connecting the
Yeah.
dots.
Yeah. And
Um,
before we switch gears, like
yeah,
it's still a layer to that I'm still trying to deal with because for my son and I'm grateful for my upbringing because that ambition has put me in spaces and rooms and opportunity
yeah,
that I never even dreamt of. And I'm just like the where I'm at in my career in my life financially, like I never even the number that I had dreamt of was lower than where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like for my son, I'm like, I need him to have that level of ambition, but
mhm,
also I want him to lead a completely much better life. But I don't know if without the circumstance, you get the ambition. And so I'm still, and my wife's like, oh, let's send him to private school. I'm like, no, he needs to go public. He needs to be talked about. He needs to be picked on.
yeah.
He needs to be, no, I'm not giving him a car. She's like, bro, like, what are we working so hard for if you literally just want him to have the West Side Chicago experience? And I'm just like, okay, it's finding that balance, but not projecting my thoughts where I came from on to, you know, him not being capable of having access to more, us being able to index on some of the things that he's proven he's passionate about and be able to lean into it, whether that means coaching, training, direct one-to-one. That's the enablement that I
Mm,
want to have for him. But
mm,
still, I'm just like, I don't know if that's going to work because I see what works, which is you going without. My mom told me either you going to college or the army from the day I was born. She said, you're 18, you're out of
wow,
my house. Ain't no fallback plan. You
wow,
just gone.
wow.
Actually, I was 16. That's probably problematic. I went to college early. I was 16. Mommy, don't do that. But I'm like, that was the driver for me to say success is not an option. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I know it works because I'm an example of that. But, you know, I just don't know. I just don't. I'm still trying to figure out this parenthood thing. Sorry, I'm about LAX. Let me close the window.
All good. Look, let me well, let me add to that. The thing of it, this is all a journey, right?
Right,
Day
right.
by day we're learning. So as long as we realize we're never not learning,
Yeah,
we're going to be fine. Because
right.
I'm with, so yeah, your boy's turning 4.
Yeah.
My little girl just turned 3 a couple months back. So it's all a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
They're going through things. We're going through things. We're looking back on our things. We're looking back on past
Yeah,
traumas. We're,
yeah.
you know, like you said, then there's therapy. Then there's all of these different motivations that start coming up. And then you start comparing to what you did. You're like, look, I'm
Exactly.
motivated. I'm successful. So maybe you should go to the school of hard
Right.
knocks instead of, you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
I feel you. I feel you. Um, One of the other things I want, since you do have a young boy, if I
Yeah.
can just ask the question, because I tend to ask this from
Mm-hmm.
time to time. When I say the word masculinity, because I brought it up earlier, what is that? What does that feel like when I bring that word up?
Ooh, I mean, it's an interesting word, I will say.
Hmm.
You know, like what does being a man or manhood, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And for me, like you have the rationale, the line of thinking that you need to just be so stern, you need to be so stoic. That's not me at all. Like I'll dance, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna project whatever toxic, you know, societal thoughts or what masculinity leads to look like on my son because I'm not what that looks like at all whatsoever. So when I hear that word, I kind of get like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
Mm.
just like,
Yeah.
I want him to grow up to be who he is. And if that is a dancer, then we listen, we're gonna have Lisa Ann or whoever Diddy used to hire, whatever her name is.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. I know you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna
Yeah.
have her be your trainer. If it's singing, if it's whatever field, if it's cooking, I may cook. Like no. We're not doing that toxic stuff. So I just kind of clenched up, and I don't want to. I mean, it's hard for me to go super deep into it, but you know,
No.
I just really think that it's problematic for society to set men up and boys up to just have to live up to some very unrealistic standard of what, you know, masculinity or manhood looks like. And honestly, if we take a little bit deeper, it's in the
Yeah,
Black
please.
community more than other communities. Like,
Yep.
you know, I have friends who are, you know, white, majority, whatever word that you want to use, and they get to do very funny things to each other and nobody cares. But
Right.
if I dance in the middle of a circle, you're telling me, like, oh, Charles really? And
Yeah.
not that that's a narrative that I hear. I'm married. People give me a pass now. But even when I was like single, I'm sure some people say, oh, that guy's a little more extroverted, you know. And it's just like, come on,
Yeah.
really? Is that the
Yeah.
narrative? Because I like to have a good time. So
Right.
yeah, I wouldn't project that onto my kid at all.
No, I love that. And, you know, I bring it up because I think it's important, you know, regardless of what your answer would have been, but I did, you know, I felt you may go
Yeah.
in this direction, but whether or
Yeah.
not you didn't, it's always interesting to hear
Yeah.
what men say to that word now. And
Yeah.
I'm so, for myself personally, I'm so happy that now you bring up that word masculinity, and it doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I bet you we could bring it to somebody a generation behind us.
Oh,
Bring up masculinity. It's like,
perk up.
yeah, perk up. Say it with your chest. You know what I mean? So it's
Exactly.
perk up and head of the household, and it's just all of these old narratives that you're supposed to be put in a box of doing and being. And again, to your point, especially in the Black community, it's like, you know, there's so many things that have been taboo. There's so many, even like you said, you just want to have a good time. I mean, again, this ain't about me, but I feel you on that, because I've had those moments. You know, I'm creative in my personal time, and you get a little more in tune, and you get a bit more emotional, you get more sensitive to things, and it's like, Dave, I don't, you know, and it's like, but there's just layers. It's just same way in the Black experience in general, where it's not monolithic. It's the same thing with men. It's the same thing with Black men, especially. I feel like because of these added societal pressures, we have these additional ways of expressing ourselves. We have these additional ways and joys and these gifts to be able to put out there.
Absolutely, yes.
That we don't always tap into, because
it's
society,
not,
and unfortunately sometimes our community is like, nope, that's not how you're supposed to be. That's not how you're supposed to be, Charles.
That's a fact. And I mean, also, you know, leaning into the non-traditional roles in a relationship, like, you know, from I'm a provider. I told the story about the debit card and all of that is making its headways on Twitter. But I'm like, you know, multiple times in my life, Shireen has made more than me. You know what I'm saying? But because her approach to it didn't hit my ego, that could have been a problem. But, you know, it wasn't that way. And I'm like, I mean, it probably took some more years. It was like, I'm so pro her career, like, and her being the queen Shireen, boss Shireen that she is. It's like, that's silly for me to want to hold my wife back or my partner back or my person back because I want to be the head of household decision maker. Like, no. That's also just a very old way of thinking. And, you know, like I said, I'm the cook. I have probably cooked 98% of the meals that we have ate since 2012.
Same.
But Shireen is a builder. She fixes things. I could not put together a chair to save my life. She is the handyman of the house. And I'm like, you can judge me if you want. So I'm just like, I'm not stuck. I'm not letting anybody keep me in these boxes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just no, not from a masculinity standpoint.
I love that. I'm glad I asked the question. So let me switch gears now, and let me ask you. You brought up Peloton earlier, so I like to, you know, connect all these dots. So now I'm gonna connect the Peloton dot, and I'm gonna connect these dots that you said you're trying to better yourself with, and give that same energy to that, you know, yourself to be in business. So we talked about fatherhood.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this other area of wellness.
The health.
So
Yeah.
how's Peloton been? How's that aspect been for you?
Peloton, I actually my wife got it, but
Okay.
she was like, if we spend this much money, like you have to use it. So I probably got the biggest I have been, but second, so I'm on weight fluctuates. And I go up, I go down. That's like Operation Wedding Weight. So I'm gonna get back down to my wedding weight by my wedding date. But last year in my depression, in my sadness, like I was just like no motivation. I probably did like a 3 weeks. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. We bought some weights, we were stuck out, and we like I didn't even look at that, right? And I look at myself on camera, I was like, Jesus Christ, Sean, you let yourself go crazy. I've always been a bigger guy, but it was in that recentering. I'm like, I cannot like be okay and put this much emphasis on all these other things and not my health. I was like, that's just problematic. So it wasn't anything that anybody else is going to be able to make me do. I've been able to lose weight, gain weight, but it was just like a self-motivated thing. Like I wanted to get back right in all aspects, like not just like the ones that are convenient or the ones that come easy to me, like business. Like I want to get right in all of the aspects of my life and, having more energy and bring more excitement in a work day. I was lifting, early this morning. So here I am.
Nice.
You get
Nice.
the pizzazz.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it was important for me to like do that and have a commitment with myself. But honestly, Peloton's like, actually, I'm gonna be a Peloton advocate. They do not pay me. I wish they did. I did buy some, some shares, but it's great. The classes are awesome. I didn't think because I can't ride a bike. That's another trauma component.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My mom didn't want to buy us a bike. She's like, all they're gonna do is get stolen in the neighborhood. Like, no, you can't get a bike. So I never learned. So I actually can't ride a bike. So it's like my first bike experience. I didn't know how much weight loss can come from it. And so we just be on there getting it, man. So I'm happy that I overcame that because that's all mental. Because I've lost it, I've gained it, and when I get into the point where like mentally I'm like back and locked in, and that's where I'm at right now. And it's looking good. I'm not about to gloat. I'm a married man, but let me stop.
Nah, keep going, brother. Give yourself some flowers. Nah, it's good. That's good. Are you on this tip? I generally like to ask about the whole mind, body, soul, and you don't have to have all three for this conversation, but I kind of put it out there because I hope you do eventually, if you don't today. But so you spoke to Peloton, that's for the body. Mind and soul, and you mentioned prayer at the top of this conversation, actually. So are there things you do on a daily that is keeping yourself, so outside of the therapy, and now you got the Peloton part of your routine, are there other things you do on a daily basis that keeps yourself in check or that just gets you going? Like you mentioned lifting this morning, and now you're Charles that everybody knows.
Absolutely. From a soul perspective, I would say it's multifold, right? Like I make sure I have some me time. And I'll oftentimes neglect myself. And that was probably something that was raised in therapy because I'm like, Shrine, all I do is do things for us and our family to the point where I work myself tirelessly. But I was like, now I need to make sure I have some me time, whether that's when I wake up at 6 o'clock and I have like an hour in bed before I know Shrine's gonna wake up, or I get to scroll Instagram, I get to post whatever I want to post. Like I have some me time every single day, and that's so important for my soul. But also, when it comes to the prayer component, my son CJ, he prays for every meal. He guides us in prayer. He made like that. We have that basis for him as well. And for me, my thing is gospel music. Like I listen to gospel. You would think that I'm listening to J. Cole's new album. No. It's some Kurt Franklin. Something. I listen to gospel every single day. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me rooted. And I don't like online church. I have, Zoom fatigue. I sit on Zoom all day. So I'm not like about to just log in to some church. This is not my thing. When we back able to go in for real, like that is for sure, my thing. But like I listen to my music and I, have my moments of gratitude and appreciation. And again, that keeps my soul right.
That's beautiful. I love that. So to the point of music, because it sounds like we're both big music fans. R&B house party. Where did that stem
Baby,
from?
no more crying. Hey, so it's twofold. It's twofold where R&B house party came from. So we were in New York. I'm a transplant, as they call you in New York, quote unquote, because you're not from New York. You'll never be from New York. They'll let you know you're not there. But I spent a significant.
I'm born and raised New Yorker, so I'm not going to tell you that. But I'm not going to tell you that.
Here we I spent 10 years almost, in New York. And then for those same people that critiqued and criticized me for going and having fun, dancing around like that guy might be gay. It was an energy that came with that.
Yeah.
And then I realized, well, I shouldn't even say Shireen realized there's a monetization strategy to the energy that you bring to a party. So all those people that probably was like, I would never dance at a middle party. Gotcha. So furthermore, I did the first R&B house party in college. It was actual R&B house party. It was at our fraternity house, A5A, the Alpha House, because all the Greek parties were just strolling. Everybody just strolling. Everybody just doing this, not dancing with each other. I said, no, I'm from Chicago. Cool. I'm from the Chi. We dance, we step. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so we were like, let's bring a house party, and it was a phenomenal party. It was great. So translating that to New York. Long story short, a good friend of mine did parties. I felt like it was my party because it was his party. So I'm on stage, I'm dancing. And then it was one particular night where we were laying in bed. We were long distance. She came home from her master's program to spend the weekend with me. And I'm planning the date. And I was like, oh, I'm not going out to that party. I just want to be with you, babe. It's just going to be us. It's going to be a great night. We're going to watch our shows, Homeland or whatever. And to that end, my phone starts going off like crazy. It's going off like crazy. Charles, are you coming? Charles, are you going to be out? Da, 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 da. And I'm laid down, trying to ignore him. Nah, baby, it's a date. I would never leave you. And I was like, babe, I think I got to go. The streets is calling me. And so she was like, no, Charles. We not doing this. You ain't about to go spend up our little money. Because that's what she wants to say. You ain't got no money to be spending. You out here going about drinks. She just know if I'm out, I'm paying for it. There's just the type of vibe that I am. She's like, these people are going for you. And you ain't making no money off this. So this ain't making good sense to me. So you're going to have to figure out, you need to start doing parties. You need to do something. Because this model is not working.
Yeah.
So she was like, you need to do parties. You need to do parties. And from that conversation, I was nervous. I'm a relatively smart guy. I'm like, I'm not hearing you, but I don't know that I know enough people to fill a room. So I said, if we do this, we need to do it together because we have two completely different crowds. Shireen's like, I'm not hanging out with your transplant friends. I've lived here my whole life. I have my own friends. So on a normal week, I would be out separate from Shireen. And that's still to this day. I hang out with my friends. She hang out with her friends. I would say LA, shout out DJ Millie. It's probably the first place where all of our friend groups intersect. But normally Shireen got her friends. I got my friends. We did do something big together. Great. So to that extent, I was like, I want to do it with you so you could get your network to merge with my network. And then also, as a couple throwing parties, and that just subconsciously gives to the person coming, maybe you can find your mate at this party because it's not something that a lot of people are doing. And so, just a marketing strategist, people pay me a decent amount of money to think through these problems. And so we had a niche. And at that point, it was all trap everything. Everybody was just hookings with comedy, And so it was like R&B. Let's bring the R&B back. And that was the birth of it. We did it smart. We did it at scale. So we had a very small spot. And the first party, we were turning away probably at least over 100 people at the door. Then I understood, hey, you need to build a listserv. You need to have a way for people to be in contact with you. You need to not oversaturate and just really start to build the brand and what that ultimately looks like. And then again, transplant. I'm not from New York. I didn't realize early on how people in Chicago viewed you being popping in New York City. If there's one place you want to be popping, it's in New York City. And so I said, oh my God, I could bring this back home. Now the money is probably going to be in touring and being able to bring that experience to people who are not getting it on a regular basis. And the rest was history. Scaled it, partnerships, the whole nine. And so that's just a little bit of how we did it.
You out here in LA?
Oh yeah, I'm in LA. Listen, everybody's been asking me to bring it back. Millie, I hope you're ready. I was waiting for it to get safe again. We're about to come back. We're about to come back. It's time.
Now I feel energy. I'm in LA now, baby. Hey, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. We here now.
It's time.
Oh, that's what's up. I love that story, man. And I love, not just because I work for Black Love, but I love the fact that you kept it in the family and that it was you and Shireen, and Shireen, again, behind every good man.
Man, that's why,
you know what I mean?
Honestly, I'm super excited for her to, even though most interviews, I'm not just sitting there quiet listening to Shireen go on and on, but people don't understand that in our house, that's how it goes. But I was just so floored at Black Love. And when we actually did the interview, because I was like, people gonna really get to see you, because I'm just such a big personality. I get it. And I can easily overshadow her, not like in real life, but like in theory. But people really got to like see her thought process. Like we would never have a additional stream. I am not a risk taker. That's not in my DNA. I'm just like, hey, let's just make this, and then I'll be okay because it's more than I ever had. Like this whole ambition and all of that. You need a partner that's going to be able to parse that out and lean into that and enable that. You know what I'm saying? And so she's that for me. So granted, now parties are crazy. They're big. We're bringing in really good revenue from it. She doesn't do anything. She just shows up in her Chanel and her Bottega and all that. But she's like, this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for me. But, so, and I can't even argue with that because she planted that seed and enabled it to manifest. I'm just like, your partner plays a huge role in your potential. And I didn't know that. Like, I don't ever think that all these roles that I took, getting in attack, overcoming just the mental that I had to just think that I can make career changes and transitions would have ever happened without, her and her being able to push me in those type of ways. So the party element was literally all her, and I give her flowers. I give her flowers all the time because she get packages every day, and I was like, listen, you get your own flowers, clearly. But yeah, man, it's super important to have a partner that's going to index and be a thought partner in some of the things you want to do.
That's dope. I love it. I love how it all tied together. I want to be respectful of the time.
Yeah, it's still my work day, but I'll block it out.
Hey, brother, it's our work days. We still got things to do. I know you're a perfectionist, so you got to get after it. But I appreciate the time. I appreciate you sharing your stories. I appreciate you being open and honest with us, because that's the thing we do here. We try to create a safe space so that you could be open, real, and vulnerable. And I'm so happy you also brought the love of you and Shireen to Black Love, to After Love.
Thank you.
So everybody tune in. I mean, this story, after this weekend, the things I've seen on social,
it gets better. We're not done. Some of my friends, and shout out Cody for even giving us this opportunity, man. Like, I've been so looking forward to this. But even like my friends who have been around for 10 plus years, from the very start of Shireen, who like lived all of these things that we're discussing, they're like, bro, I'm still tearing up at that story, or I'm still just like laughing at, you all's engagement and batter. So I'm appreciative that there's a platform that we're able to share this. But our goal in being so transparent, and you think I want to tell people I couldn't, I needed some help with a debit card, but I'm transparent for a reason, because I want to let people know, like, it's not about where you start. It's literally about where you finish. And those are the type of things, that's the type of thoughtfulness that led me to become comfortable getting married, because that's something that we as men, that's a whole nother mental thing that we can get into.
That's a part 2 conversation. That's a part 2 conversation.
I just want to be transparent on this type of a stage, just to say, hey, like, you know what I mean? This is the journey that got us to where we are. So yeah, that's it.
I love that, brother. So again, thank you. Everybody tune in, watch this story unfold in real life, but in particular, before you see how it unfolds in real life, appreciate how it's going down on Black Love Fridays on OWN. After Love, episode 1. I mean, that was I love that episode. If you haven't watched it, go watch it on the Black Love Plus app. Go watch them on YouTube. There's a lot more to come. Like I said, I appreciate you, brother. I'm looking forward to that LA R&B house party to open.
You're getting a personal invite. Let's get it.
Yes, let's get it.
Have a good one, boss.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
again.